Off with ETH because ETH is probably the easiest chart for me to kind of run through, and then we'll dive into various other shitcoins and different setups. Overall, I think the market is in a position, we last spoke on Friday, so literally like 48 hours ago, and I was saying, I think continuation is on the cards for a lot of markets. We had quite a heavy continuation day yesterday. The evening turned into a bit of a shit show with some of the rejections, especially on BTC. And so a lot of markets that were very heavy green earlier in the day lost a lot of that and ended up, either a lot less green, or some of them even flipped red. To me, it still feels as though we are kind of getting closer to the end of this kind of easy run. And I think the volatility kind of kick in is just part and parcel of that. So we'll take a little look at the ETH range up here and see if we can kind of determine anything in terms of future direction based on the way the market is chopping around this level for now. We know, first of all, that this is the 1700 level. So it is a level that basically, it's a real big dick level, right? It's a big dick level. And we can't underestimate the importance of this level. It is the most tested level we've had over the last 2 years, and so it is hugely significant for the market, this area. It's also the exact area, obviously, that kind of, spawned that move down to 3 digits for ETH, because it was the break of this level back here at the start of June that started the cascade down into triple digits. So this is a hugely significant level, and it would be hugely significant to reclaim this level. But obviously, as we can see from the price action so far, we're kind of pinned underneath it for now. Let's go into the 4 hour and we'll take a look at, this little cluster here. I think this is irrelevant. We know about this. We spoke about this after interest rate decision and the rally that we had. I think that the kind of the more interesting discussions around this area that we're seeing right now. And we'll get rid of this. We know 1700 is important. I think within this, you can also see there's a level in here. And basically every time ETH is traded above 1730, it doesn't like it. It's a key selling area every single time we trade above. Look how many times on this 4 hour chart we've traded above that level just to close below it. Pretty much every candle over the span of like 3 days here traded above that level and rejected. Yesterday was particularly nasty because yesterday we got the close above the level for the very first time, and then again the worst reaction that we've had so far in this range here. So really, really nasty reaction candle from actually the first time that we've done something significant in closing above that level, instantly smacked back down. Again, action today, traded above this level for the very first time today, and obviously we know the very poor reaction that we had to that, trading back down at the lows, closing the candle in the middle, and the chop continues in this region. However, I do think that ETH is setting the marker with this. I think this level here is super, super important to ETH, and there's a huge amount that's been traded above it. One close, one instant rejection, and now back to kind of pissing about in this 1700s region. From a Renko perspective, we basically are just aligned exactly the same. This is the 1700 level. It's actually 1760 from Renko, and we're just trading directly into it. And you can see the cleanliness of the level from the Renko perspective. So again, adds to the significance and the weight of this level. I do still believe it is hugely, hugely significant to us here. And the longer that we perform this, I think the less confident I feel about the breakout. Or if we do get the breakout, I think it could be like one of these ones. I feel as though like if the breakout comes, it will be breakout, but then I think we'll see a very quick reaction again. So for now, this is the level. This is the only thing I would pay attention to. 1730s. So 1730, I think, is the really, really important level in here. Higher time frames, I think, still indicate that we do try and make the push higher. I think the higher time frames don't look too bad. The longer we hang around here, I think the more concerning it becomes. Without any clear reaction above here, I think it starts to look worse and worse. So we shall see. But I mean, like, I certainly wouldn't be fresh longing into this region. If I was taking any position, it's going to be to the short side. I wouldn't be entering long in this consolidation region here. I think it's way too risky to which direction this breaks from here. More taps and hold in the region, likely to break through. I don't think so for this region. It's slightly different. Like, it's more, there's like more control here, right? There's a lot more control in here. So typically in kind of the example you're giving, what we expect is, you know, that kind of that market that's tapping into the level, rejects, taps into the level, rejects, right? Taps in, consolidates, breaks out. It's more of like this structure, right? Whereas this is all very controlled. You know, this is the range. We've got basically a, you know, sort of, if we take the closes at 1735, 1682, we've got a pretty tight range in here. So to me, this is more controlled. It's less of the like stabbing to try and break through. I think this is a fucking big level. I mean, it could be one of those levels that literally we look back in 3 weeks' time and we look at the chart from this perspective and we just say, why the fuck weren't we just shorting the shit out of this level? You know, it's the macro bearish retest for ETH, and we literally in 3 weeks' time we could be sat there saying, what the fuck are we doing? All right, BTC. So we done the ETH analysis. ETH, you know, like take it or leave it. If you want the higher time frame trade, you're shorting the shit out of this level and you're praying for new lows. The BTC side of thing, I mean, like, look, you can see what this weekend of price action has done to me. I'm basically like playing pickup sticks here. I mean, I just started just drawing shit everywhere to just be like, just give me like the golden ticket to figuring all this out. So the range down here still, and we had the dip back inside the range and immediate breakout, obviously interest rate side of things. And then the 3-day, I just drew this out just because that's where we've really seen the buying and the selling contained on the diagonals for now. So let's delete the horizontals, we'll leave the meme lines in. And this is really where we've seen the selling taking place at the top of the channel, and we've seen obviously the support this side from a buying perspective as well. So everything fits in pretty nicely in terms of how we're channeling at the moment. This is the area everybody wants at 28,000. Don't disagree. It seems like the most obvious kind of region that we would head towards for BTC. But obviously we're getting some sort of slowdown here. We also know BTC has been weaker than alts. Certainly hasn't performed to anywhere near the same kind of success factor. We started to see a slight turnaround yesterday in terms of BTC DOM. And the way that alts kind of, BTC really took the reins, especially ahead of ETH. You know, it started to break out and everything looked really good. And I thought, well, maybe now this is going to be the kind of the BTC power leg, and we're going to start to see the strength of BTC come through. And then everything just shit the bed like 2 hours later. So for now, all we're doing is taking highs and then looks as though we're correcting. The reason that I don't really focus on BCC too much in this region is I just think it's a lot more difficult here. Like, I really just think it's a lot more difficult to trade through this region, and I'm not sure why you ever would want to trade BTC here. There's no real reason to be a spot buyer of BTC. There's no real reason to trade BTC over pretty much anything in the market. I think the only reason you would probably focus on this is because you think that the kind of catch-up play for BTC will happen, or the kind of BTC dominated leg will happen. Aside from that, I don't really see any reason to focus on this. It's a far harder chart to analyze than ETH is. ETH is far simpler. BTC still has a good distance to go until that major macro retest, which would be the sort of 28,000 region. But aside from that, like, I mean, I don't know what the fuck to say about this. Like, it's just here, right? It's just $23,820. That's about it. Market as a whole, there's plenty of value, I think, still in this market. You know, I think there's still some alts that haven't kind of fulfilled the move that I think they will go on to fulfill before this kind of rally is over and the bigger correction happens. I don't know how much value there is in being overly fixated on some of these markets at this point in time, though. Like, the volatility and the choppiness has just increased so much. Just makes things so much more difficult through here. Everything just got, way choppier this weekend. Easy conditions of the end of the week, Wednesday to Friday, very good conditions. Pretty much green button, any market, make money. Weekend looked as though it was going to be that, changed, and then today was obviously this horror price action through here. And so I think some of the alts are starting to kind of, dry up in terms of the value. So the alts that still haven't really pushed incredibly hard are things like GMT, Sand, Theta's one. Like, the rest, they pretty much had pretty good fucking runs. Tron, I think Tron is a pretty decent candidate to look for a short trade on. I think this is a really good candidate to look for shorts on. Hasn't been great in the same period of time that everything else has been super strong. Tron actually ran earlier, and then across the highs we're starting to see divergences form. So the last highs that we created here were divergence highs, and then this high here obviously at the moment is the current lower high. So I think if we start making lower lows on Tron, this is a really good shorting market. We've also taken out the original high over here. So this one here was taken out on the run up at the end of July. So this whole kind of like range here, we've taken the high, we're diverging into this resistance area, and to me it looks just like a pretty easy short setup. I would love this to make one extra high. I would love this to do that, form the triple, and then short it. That would be the ideal play. There's a load of like 4-hour divergences present on a lot of markets, but they're all holding this weird position at the moment. But this, to me, this looks as though it's a really good shorting market. The other reason that I like the short here is because of things like the weekly RSI level. So this retest of the 50 level from underneath here, I think is really good. And also we've got this support level just underneath us here, which if it cracked then would be a huge downside target for Tron. So for me, I think this is one of the better shorting markets. I really do. I would just love to see the triple divergence on the 4-hour. I would love to see tomorrow as a green day, and then that's it. All right, market tops done. Last alts have run. Everything has kind of had a mini rally. I say a mini rally. It's had a pretty sizable rally, and then we can get a bigger downside correction. Yeah, ETH monthly is also a 50 RSI retest. Yeah, there's plenty of markets that are in that position. Don't you think the BTC chart looks like a typical BART in terms of structure? I mean, like, yeah, could be. Thoughts on CHZ? Yeah, it's another really good one. That's another really good market. Well found. I haven't looked at CHZ too much, but yeah, well found. It's another one. It's just like HBAR, because I think HBAR popped today, right? Yeah, 7%. So, this is like last stages to me of the rally. These kind of shitcoins just popping off for the last 10%, and that's it. But this is a really nice level. Like, if you want to try and play a trade through this, you've got a very clear level, to play on. Just play the breakout, take profit at the first resistance, done. And then I think the same on theta, right? It's exactly the same across here. So yeah, the 12-hour you can take here. The daily is slightly lower at the level I had before, but exactly the same sort of market. Very clear resistance, this region. We've tapped it already, and if we started to make ground towards this level again, I think you've got a really good setup. ZEC as well. Yeah, saw this as well. Really good level down here, and you've got a good resistance level again with this. I think the daily is actually better for this. Yeah, so through here at 69. If you break 69, you just trade this up towards 80 and then get out. So there's plenty of markets that are in this position. We've just covered like a handful of them now. And if you want some of the easier trades, then they were the markets that I would be focused on. I think the other markets are kind of in a bit of an unknown at the moment. I think things like CRV still look okay. I think CRV is relatively decent still, as long as this doesn't diverge this leg here. I think this market is good. I think Sushi is doing a good job of kind of cooling off in this region as well. Just ranging through here. Has taken the highs, but decent range on Sushi. So I think there's a few things that, potentially can still leg. Sol, just chop central, underperformed the last leg as well. So underperformed this region, but structure-wise, RSI-wise, still looks very good. Downside would be that a lot of the alts everything's in like this pattern, same as the BTC channel. There's loads of stuff that's just sitting in channels like this, and a lot of these alts are now at the top side of channels. It's like Sol is one, Atom is one. Atom is just kind of supported underneath this diagonal the whole way up. And so another example of one through here, just 3-day supports underneath here, grinding up price action. XTZ is another one, right? Just grinding their way up through these levels, right? All underneath here, just fucking pinned in. So they're all the same. This is better because of the impulse that we've seen out the top side, so that's slightly better. But we're now at the point where like it's a super awkward market because there's not market-wide alignment. And BTC, obviously, we know as well, is in this kind of this structure as well through here. Closed out my BTC and Sushi positions on the 26th based on the loss of the daily levels and have been sidelined ever since. Didn't trust the pump on FOMC day, and by the time I realized they weren't fake outs, I got disgusted that I had missed out on big gains, so basically rage quit till today. On one hand, probably good that I kept myself from revenge trading, but on the other hand, I really did miss out on some great pumps. Advice on managing the extreme emotions. I spoke about this on Friday's stream. Like, it was basically, people either didn't believe the move or were kind of frozen out by the move. The big thing that you've got is like the issue really isn't your emotions. The issue is your thought process during. So like the fact that you were assuming that they were fake outs and that you didn't trust the moves is the bigger problem, right? So like we always say, and I say pretty much every stream at the moment is just trust the market, because you will never know any better. You will never know the other side of that. So when we sort of think, I think it's a fake out, I don't trust this, like we're basing that on nothing apart from our own imagination. That's all we're doing, is we're literally using our imagination or whatever we read on Twitter in order to decide, okay, I don't trust this. The only thing that we know as absolute fact is what the market tells us. We only know something is a fake out after it fakes out. That's it. And so we don't know it ahead of time, and it's stupid to try and act as though we can predict that, or it's stupid to trade as though that is the outcome we're expecting. So first thing is first is just believe what the chart tells you. Otherwise, what's the point of technical analysis at all? So if we're breaking out of key levels, if we have reclaimed key levels, then just take the trades in the direction of the breakouts. If they turn out to be fake outs, then sure, you can take the counter trade, right? You can short it once we get back under the levels, simply enough. But trust the market, right? Trust the market, and that will help your emotions, because you kind of, you'll swing on those emotions back and forth and decide whether or not something is, a fake out or not, and then you're basing your whole actions around a thought that you've had versus what the charts are telling you. How do I trust the market when all it does is trick me? I don't think it does though, right? I think you trick yourself the majority of the time. But Fizzy, I think your original thought process is the blame, not your emotions. I think your emotions are fine, right? You're going to be pissed off by that. You're going to be pissed off by that scenario, absolutely. Do you think the market trades on fake outs or breakouts in different ways? Not particularly. I think fake outs are like one of the most overused terms by newer traders. Like, I think everybody, as soon as people see a pump, they either shout scam pump or it's going to fake out. I don't know, people have been like weirdly conditioned to doubt every single move the market makes. And the market is usually relatively simple. It's our mindset that is the thing that adds complication. But yeah, the market is simple. Our minds and thought process make it challenging. If you just believe every time the market does something, if you believe it, you'd be in a far better position. Like the same with deviations and breakouts and whatever else. Like, sure, if they happen, then you now have new evidence and you can take a position based on that evidence. Yeah, aren't level to level traders always looking for a fake out and breakout traders always a breakout? Yeah, but the difference is like once we get them, then that's it, right? Like that gives us action and ability to take a trade. Whereas most traders see things like this happening, and instead of getting long, they start thinking, okay, this is going to do this, all right, and then this is going to be a deviation at the high, and then we're going to trade back to the low. So I'm not going to take a trade here. I'm going to wait. Whereas what I'm saying is, yeah, sure, you can be like a level to level trader, and you can wait for that setup. And if that setup develops, then sure, take your short position here and then ride it. If you're a breakout trader and this breakout was over 1600 on the daily, then you've got your conditions for a trade. You take the long side and then you ride it up here. So either time, both of those sets of traders are looking for actual confirmation versus their imagination being like, here's what's going to happen. And they kind of mentally lay out the next 3 days of price action in their heads. What do you take into consideration before you trade a breakout? Position of the RSI, and whether or not the breakout has happened on the time frame that I'm looking for it to happen on. That's pretty much it. Thoughts on getting ETH puts for a week or two out? I don't know if I go like a week or two. I don't know if I just go like the full distance now. I don't know why you'd take them 1 to 2 weeks unless you're playing aggressively. If you're up against 1700 as the macro resistance, I don't know why you wouldn't just go for, your kind of macro puts. You check OP? Yeah, that's a really good market to check. So what are people's thoughts on this? Like, what do people think about this chart and this market? Scam because I didn't get in. Yeah, that's a classic view. I think the chart looks pretty decent, to be honest with you. I don't think I'd be shorting this right now. I think you can short this above 2, maybe. I don't know if it's shortable here or right now. Again, kind of gun to head scenario. I think I would much rather take a long position on this than I would try and play into the short side of this. And I guess it kind of supports my overall thought process on one leg higher before bigger correction. And I think that this would also play into that, because so far I think decent reset here on RSI and then rally up again. And then, you know, hopefully that's the high established then, and you can short it on the back of that. To me, it looks similar to the way that waves played out on the initial high that waves created, and the way that that rally happened on waves. I think to me that's kind of where the similarities are. And waves took three tops before it finished, and that was the last one, and then it just went down like this. And to me, it kind of just looks as though it has the same kind of setup as waves did at the original high. Fucking hell, let's scroll all the way up here and check it out here. So I think it's similar to this, the way that this played out. Right, high 1, high 2, high 3. This is the top, short on the break of the structure, whatever you want to do, and then it just free falls. You know, I think that seems the most likely play out to me. The other thing that I have, and I guess the thing that kind of supports that from just a pure narrative perspective, would be the fact that OP stopped short of 2, right? Stopped short of $2 here, and so it's kind of like, well, how many stop losses are at 2? How many stops are going to be placed here? So as soon as you start to run this area, I think there's probably. I just wouldn't want to short it just yet. Produce a nice 12-hour divergence. You know, give me a nice 12-hour div to short from, then fine. I couldn't short this yet. But I do think a number of factors would align to a push above 2 here. Good coin. Just a good coin. Again, like, there's nothing here that's kind of, you know, short signal right now. Nothing. Needs more consolidation at least. CBS, are you a filthy bear at this present time? I wouldn't say I was. Like I said, I'm certainly more cautious about the ease of longs. I don't think I'm kind of, you know, in the bear camp right now. I did say if you force me to trade ETH right now, I would absolutely short it. But as I'm not being forced to trade, I'm slightly more cautious about the long setups. But I still think that there is potentially another leg in this market. Take a look at Matic, another hated coin. Like putting in meh divergences. Yeah, they're here, but they're not like the strongest divergences. And again, this is another market. It's another very good example of a market that could just do this, like tag a third high, fake everybody into thinking that, you know, this is the moonshot, and then we just make these triple divs and we end up falling down. It's another one that plays into that side of, yes, there'll be another leg, but the next leg is the dodgy leg that you should probably think about getting out of position on. IOTA? Holy shit. I mean, yeah, it looks fine, I guess. But the divergence here is nice, but we're already a ton up off the lows. 46% off the lows. You want to just hold on to 30 cents. You need 30 cents to hold. It's, you know, this is kind of the pivot point here for IOTA, so 30 cents has to hold if it doesn't run. What a mad one. Some tips for a newbie trying to scalp at the 5 minute, or some strategy to make research and learn. 5 minute scalping. Honestly, man, like I would absolutely consider your choice about what time frame you want to scalp on. The 5 minute is a nice time frame, but the consumption of life it will take from you is crazy in order to become proficient at the 5 minute time frame. In terms of it, I can't really recommend anybody who I would be like, go and learn from them, because I have no idea how you would want to trade it. And you are absolutely better to find out how you want to trade and then find people who can assist in that, versus me being like, oh yeah, go and follow this person, and then you try and copy them. Like, you need to kind of find your own way. DYDX, yeah, that's another market that I said looked really, really attractive. So I think the daily is in a really good position here based on the RSI. Looks as though it's one of those kind of, you know, clear skies breakout regions. So I don't anticipate there would be a lot of resistance within that region, and therefore DYDX would be one of the more attractive alt longs for another leg higher. Because everything is just set up really, really nicely here for this to be a clean breakout and run. Everything's just kind of set here. It actually did a pretty decent job of holding the 254s as well. But to me, this just looks like one of those breakouts that's just going to end up running up here. The only thing to be a little bit cautious of, I guess, is the supply here. So if this area causes an issue, you still get a 10% trade here. 11% trade up to this region where you're taking profit. And then if it runs the full distance, then obviously you've got a great trade based on the higher time frames. May just be this little supply cluster here that slows it down prior to the daily level. But apart from that, it really is just a kind of a clear skies move. XMR. This would probably be pretty low on a list of anything I would consider getting long on. The structure is terrible. Sure, the run-up's been fine from here, but the action is so horrific all the way through this, the way that we just, move back and forth, that there's no real established levels in here aside from this one over here at 179. It's kind of the only region you would feel comfortable about. It's like here. So sure, maybe again you get another 10-15% up here as it squeezes into that level. Aside from that, I mean the structure is garbage, and it just plays into a lower high structure here. And then send it to 0. How about ALCX? Very bullish coin. Wait, we don't need to zoom out on ALCX. Wait there. Very, very good market. Very strong. You still holding? Yeah, look at this. The last 6 weeks, 5 green candles. Very, very good coin. V-shaped reversal. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it happening. I mean, maybe like a little bit more consolidation in here. And then we probably start putting on the burners. Mid-2023. And then we get the completed V. And then, of course, once you get the completed V, you get the breakout of that as well. So, I mean, 2026 maybe, 2027 maybe I'll get paid on this. Looks fine. Then we'll look back on this and we'll just say small blip down here. ALCX has been pretty decent, right? It's been pretty decent down at the lows, but again, liquidity is a major issue for anybody who would want to trade ALCX. If you're a spot holder, then I mean, if you're like me, you forget this exists until every Sunday when chat hopefully reminds you of it. And apart from that, you ain't gonna do much with this coin for now. So someone said Doge could be a good play. The consolidation here is fine. The 3 days probably clearer. There's no divergences on the leg lower though, which is a problem for me. So again, all I can do is speak about kind of my own view of the chart, and the fact this doesn't have any 3-day divergences, whereas other charts like Sushi, etc. do, would mean this would like fall way down the list of me wanting to get long on it. If you start breaking out with significance and closing above 7.2, then fine, maybe you can take a trade on it. But aside from that, I think there are far better options than hanging around waiting for Doge to finally make a move. SPX and NQ going to pump this week. I think that they're going to make a leg higher. I suspect they'll continue up hopefully tomorrow. And then, like I said, I would love to see a correction from there. How to keep track of so many setups? You're just setting alerts. You're either setting alerts or you're just color coding everything here in TradingView. To be like, okay, FTT is a long soon, so I'm going to mark it in green. Gala is a short, so it's going to be marked in red. Whatever that situation looks like, or you mark it in terms of, for me, it's like breakouts. So if like the markets we looked at, what's a good example of one we looked at earlier? Theta. So if Theta is nearing an important breakout, then I mark it in green to show that we're nearly ready to go. And then if there's something that's a bit further away from a breakout level, like sand, which is 10% away from a breakout level, then I'd mark it in orange. And if there's something that's a long way off, then I'd mark it in red. So you can kind of get a gauge for which of the markets that you think are kind of nearing breakout potential soonest. It's just a very easy way of doing it. Do you expect a simple correction into this rally or a bigger bleed into new macro lows? If ETH rejects 1700, based on the trend, I would say that it's fresh lows. That would be the play I think you would have to take. This is the macro bearish retest of 1700, the most important level over 2 years, and therefore on a rejection, I would target fresh lows. Fresh lows in the 3 digits, yeah, that would absolutely be where I would target based on the trend. You posted 17.5 trades in a day tweet. How many hours a day is that sat in front of the computer, or do you set alerts? That's a lot of time also being on phone. The majority of the analysis is done at the PC, and then if alerts are triggered, then I'll take the trade on phone. Look at this action, man. What absolute toxic price action. What are they doing? How do you balance having a wife and kids as well as trading? Obviously, trading takes up a lot of time, and you can be trading for long hours. It's mainly, and like I would urge everybody to do the same thing, right? regardless of if you have a wife or kids, I mean, for many of you, if you've ever, even just come within, a meter of a woman, you should still take the same advice. Trade like hell during very easy conditions. Put a shit ton of time into the market when the conditions are very, very good, like the last 3 or 4 days. That's when you should be at the PC a lot. It's when you should be taking lots of trades, having lots of alerts, being very, very aware of what the markets are doing. Aside from that, you should be spending as little time as possible looking at these markets, because there's nothing to do for the majority of the time, and the markets are far harder the majority of the time in comparison to the way they have been over the last 72 hours or so. So we've had 2 periods of time that have been like this in the last, 2 weeks? There have been sort of like 2, 3 or 4 day periods that have been very, very good trading environment, very easy trades, markets doing huge percentage gains to the upside. Like, trade the shit out of those and then ignore the market for the majority of the time in between. And so that's kind of how I create the balance is, the last few days have been long days for me. I've been at the PC a lot. I've been staring at charts a lot. I've been, distracted a lot. But the value is there to mean that you're kind of driven by the market. So you have to follow the market's tune, not your own, which means then you have to take greater importance on making sure you're not at the markets when they're doing fuck all. How do you spot easy conditions quickly? When you have a day like we had on interest rate decision day, Wednesday, that was a very clear market moving event and everything responded as such. And then of course you have understanding of the market. So you have things like breakouts, you have daily structure breaks, whatever it might be that would cause triggers for you to start trading. But obviously an event like that is going to kickstart everything towards a kind of a single directional goal. Yeah, I've been back to scalping during these 2 windows of time. And then once these windows are gone, I will be back to not giving a fuck about anything on an intraday basis for any of these markets again. Yeah, this is the resistance for Stinky through here. So if it can bust through 8, then I think it's heading up to the 925s. I think it heads up to the top of this region. And then you just be looking for the pullback into here. So if it breaks through here and travels up here, you're looking for the pullback here. If it rejects off this region, maybe forms a triple high here, like I think the rest of the markets will, rejects here, travels down to here, you're looking for this to hold. So you're at a point in time where you can't really take a trade into this, but you can be aware of the outcomes on either side of its decision with this zone here. You should be able to have a plan for the downside and then also for the upside breakout, assuming it is a strong breakout and not just a weak continuation of this shitty structure through here. Do you think Sand can hit 178? I think that's probably too much for Sand, but then Sand is one of the good markets with a clear level, but the level is also still above us here. So the level is here. The level's 145. And then if we get through that, maybe in 170s to begin with, the major area for Sand is actually a hell of a lot higher. But if we get out of this region here, it's a very, very clear level through here, 145. So if we break out of 145, I think this is an easy trade setup. Just ended a call with a trader from the street. The culture is really fuck all. Wanting to have a fund even though they can't really trade but just see it as normal career succession. It's insane for me that people think they should create a fund when they don't have an edge across history compared to their peers. I mean, just look at this space. I mean, like, how many funds got blown up in the move? I saw someone tweet the other day about a fund that they're like $100 million fund, and they'd bought some ridiculous amount of whether or not it was like seed or whatever else, and then realized that basically they got the entire company wrong that they were looking to purchase. So they were actually just buying the wrong thing altogether. And like, these people are operating 9-figure firms. A madness. How many people in chat do you think are wearing a backwards cap with a bag of Cheetos on their table trading 6 figures right now? We got just over 1,000 viewers. I would suspect 1. You just said trading a retest is a meme, but isn't that exactly what you're doing on pretty much everything? No. I'd buy a fucking breakout. How would you play Sand? A candle close over the level. Yeah, exactly. It's a breakout, right? Not playing a retest. There's 2 trades in there. There's the first trade is the breakout trade. So the first trade is the trade that should impulse up here. and create the distance in the initial rally, which is where you take profit on the long position from the breakout play, and then you make sure you close the position before you get the retest. If this is a higher time frame, let's just assume that sand breaks out. It is highly unlikely that a 3-month consolidation region will give a retest. There is no reason whatsoever for this market to retest. It should just travel as a breakout. There is absolutely no reason whatsoever to provide a retest for this. If it is a true retest, the breakout should just ascend. How do you classify a breakout in these conditions? Exactly the same way as you always do. Whatever time frame you are trading, you wait for a candle close above that level, and then you buy it. I always give the example of SHIB. I think that's like the most famous breakout level, which is here. Because people always ask, like, oh, if you wait for a breakout. So then, like, you take the SHIB chart here, and that's the setup you're provided with. So that was the weekly breakout, and that's the breakout candle. And then you got to buy it. It gave you a fucking huge run up from a very easy setup. It doesn't really matter about the breakout candle itself. As long as you can start thinking about stop loss placement within a region like this, or understanding the weekly has broken out. So if you want to dive down to the lower time frames to try and, you know, have a tight stop underneath the price action that's consolidating in here, that's fine. But like, the breakout play was obvious, and it gave you a huge fucking markup in value again, even from the breakout. Even if you take even if you bought the weekly close, you still got another 240% in it. Even on this 188. What alts are you eyeing this week if BTC remains stable and goes up? DYDX, GMT, Sand, Theta. I think Sand is a better setup than Mana right now. But I think the mana setup is still absolutely fine. Mana's just still struggling to create any real movement through this zone, but it's still holding up absolutely fine. Just seeing the lower time frames, you know, kind of stay around this zone now. So remind me why GMT 3-day chart, the breakout here. So if we just get a breakout of this level here at $1, then I think that GMT has a particularly good time. But again, we're right at resistance at the moment. This would be under the conditions that BTC does break to the upside and the alts continue to be green. Do you think we've generally bottomed in the crypto market? Maybe. I would love to go back down and test the lows, because I think that the more time spent in a kind of a wider range would be better for the market in terms of more confidence in establishing the lows. If 1700 is flipped on ETH, I would be more likely to believe that, yes, that was probably the low at the 800s. Why Theta? Because it's got a daily breakout level. It's the best daily breakout level probably of any market. Silico seems adamant we're seeing new lows eventually. I can't disagree with that thought process. You know, from my perspective, the most simple analysis that I can provide on ETH is that this is a huge macro bearish retest, and therefore if this is the bearish retest, then it's fresh lows. Thoughts on silver? Looking really, really good. Good bounce away from the 18s, really great close to the week. Looks as though we're going to start to get some impulse to the upside. 21s is the awkward area next. I'm sure ETH at 1780 is 750 too wild a target. I like, if it gets to 750, I suspect it's probably going lower, but your first priority is how do you hold on to that position. So you're literally short from the absolute top so far. So your main thought process is, well, how do you hold on to that position? And number one, does this break down? If this does break down, I suspect the 1600 level is the important one, so that's where you would gain more confidence that you've probably got a very good short setup, would be the breakdown of 1600. And then I would be, if this breaks down here, I would be really tempted to hold on to this if it rejects. I would be really, really tempted to hold on to this position as long as possible. And then I don't think your targets are too outrageous. But while we're still in this area, I think you should have concerns about whether or not you're going to be able to keep that position open, and what it would look like for you if the market was to impulse up again and try and take out your stops at 1800 potentially. Why 1600? It's the important daily level for this region. It's where we couldn't close above, which is here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 days where we traded above this level and couldn't close above it until interest rate decision day. So it's a very important level. If we slip back underneath, it's a bad sign. I think this range on ETH would have chopped so many people up this weekend. Don't you find value in having volume on your charts? Nah, not at all. Like, just having volume bars on your chart is nonsense. There's no reason for it. Because, like, all people do when they look at volume is they start looking at volume and they start saying, like, oh, this is a big volume candle, and they start attaching loads of meaning to it without understanding if there is actually meaning to it. Does that make sense? People are like, oh, big volume here, but they don't understand what that volume actually is. And so you start making trading decisions just based on random volume bars than you do anything else. Volume profile can be helpful to spot pockets of illiquidity that price can quickly pass through. Yeah. So, like, again, if you're utilizing volume, I've always said, right, I think if you stick volume bars on a chart, it is a trash way of going about it, because your analysis is poor and you make decisions based on volume bars and not on the price action itself. I think if you understand volume, it is one of the best methods for actively trading. So if you understand, you know, footprint or whatever volume metrics you want to dive into, and you understand what is taking place in each of the candles, that is a far different thing altogether. And I think that is one of the best options that you have for trading. Weekend PA is crazy every time. Fair to say it's manipulated because of the low volume. It's certainly easier to push the market around in these conditions. It's a lot easier to push the market around. So in terms of, you know, the moves that we tend to see, it's, you know, that can happen because of the weekend liquidity. When we saw the initial dump in the bull market after we made the first high and we absolutely puked, you know, there's like 2 days where we just did like minus 30% or whatever. They did that at the weekend. They pushed that into Saturday. That was like Saturday absolute puke fest. And again, less liquidity in the market at the weekends, easier to push the market. And yeah, it was a time that we got punished. In terms of like the manipulation element, all markets are manipulated, right? It's not unique to crypto. The liquidity is a bigger issue. And in terms of the weekend PA, it's been fucking terrible. Absolutely terrible weekend for price action. And like I said, really harsh for people because there've been some really solid breakout plays. You know, even I got chopped this weekend. You know, there's nothing you can do. The market just gave and took away in equal measure this weekend. Does AVAX or Sol fit into those breakout plays? Not as easily. I think they're like in poorer positions overall. Sol has got a decent level where it is at the moment. You know, it just needs to break above that. I think Sol could be a good play, but right now the market is basically just offering you better plays elsewhere. You know, if you've been trading Sol during this period, it's been a super unfortunate time. It hasn't responded well at all, and loads of shitcoins have, which is also a shame. And we know it's channeled right now as well. I think Alice was one of the better markets this weekend. The 4 hour is absolutely hideous. Holy shit, nice find. That's a hideous looking 4 hour. Look at that. Nasty, nasty, nasty looking chart. So in terms of like the 4 hour trade, the 4 hour trade is there already. 330s is the obvious resistance level. It seems to be a rejection from there to begin with. I think the chart sets up as a pretty clear region, to be honest. Again, you've got your breakout play here, but horrible, horrible price action. Again, it just depends if there's another leg up. Because this can support it, right? This can support another leg. So if they want to try and do this again, you know, a big wick up here, this can support that. But definitely a good market to have an eye on. 100%. Yeah, ape. Yeah. Basically equal highs here. So basically equal highs and just sellers stepping in. Anything above 710 is just being sold into. And the awesome oscillator making consistently lower highs here as well. Struggling above 7. The 12 hour looks okay though. Alright, predictions up. This is the first 1 minute candle of the NASDAQ Futures Open, which is on your right. Should you wish for any reference of what the current chart looks like, This is our 15-minute picture. This is our 4-hour picture. And our daily. And we're looking for the first 1-minute candle color. Regulars already know. Failure to get the answer correct results in a curse. 1 week of shitty trading decisions. Liquidation emails. Inability to catch a trade. Constantly taking the wrong setup. Constantly taking a market that goes negative while other markets rip higher. For many of you, this will just sound like a normal week of trading. But for others, it's the curse. It's going to be close. We're already at like 50-50s. We've got 3 minutes left. 4 minutes until futures kicks into action. Yeah, I have nothing to lose then. Well, listen, you have a lot to gain. Because if you're right, then of course the trading gods will bless you. The buffs will be placed. And it will feel like you can't do anything wrong. Right? All you do is you turn notifications on for Hisaka, and you are the first person to get long on whatever shitcoin he calls out. And then the rest of the week, you just put your feet up and it does 50%. All right, final minute. Final minute to cast votes. 56% say green, 460k channel points. 44% red, 360k. Holy shit. I honestly, I couldn't turn the mic on. I was laughing so much as soon as that candle flipped. 3 seconds before the end, I was in stitches, man. I couldn't turn the mic back on. Hey, listen, congratulations, Bears. That was a wonderful candle to experience. Absolutely rugged in the last few seconds. Utterly rugged. So manipulated to win the channel point bet. Good chance of that. There's a good chance of that. Haven't felt any kind of emotion like that in months. How did you vote? Red. Of course it was. I casted my vote 30 seconds in as well. I was so confident. So confident it was gonna puke like that. All right. And so with that brings the conclusion of the stream. Greatly appreciated. Thank you all for being here tonight, and good luck on the week ahead. I will be back midweek. So I don't know what day it will be yet. Wednesday, Thursday, one of those 2 days. So I'll be back then, and we can kind of discuss the catch up in the 3 days from the open and see where the market is after that period of time. We're in like a super unknown scenario at the moment, right? Like I find it really difficult to take trades at this moment in time up against higher time frame resistances, divergences showing, but still potential for more legs. Like you're far better just sitting and waiting for the resolution of this annoying little cluster of price action before you decide to dive back into the market. And I will catch up with everybody midweek. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Once again, thank you for joining me. I appreciate all of your time every Sunday evening. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. Big thank you to Delta as well for sponsoring. If you want to sign up at Delta and support the stream, you can do so in the second tweet of the announcement tweet I sent before. My ref link is in there, and that would be appreciated. Enjoy the rest of Sunday. Enjoy the start of Monday. Have a good week ahead. Good luck out there.